Sorry, I apologize. Good morning, buongiorno. I apologize for being late. There was a miscommunication on the shuttle, and I was dropped off at ESA rather than the Italian Space Agency, so I apologize. But well, I'm pleased and honored to be here. One of the things that we've done at NASA with open data has been a labor of love, I will say, over the last 4 years. One thing I want to emphasize is that we've always had our data open and available. And at the end, one of the key points of the challenges of making that available in a useful way is what I want to leave you with. So just from history, for our use at NASA, the Office of Science and Technology Policy, which was a part of the President's Office in 2013, mandated that every federal agency in the United States that funded $100 million or more in federal money for research grants were required to make that data open to the public. So we developed a plan, an implementation plan that was approved, and we went through our regular process and what we call the NASA Policy Directive, put it in place in 2016 January. What we've done, a couple of things that we've done that are exciting for us is that we have now required that all peer-reviewed publications that are funded under NASA grants be put in a single repository. So anybody can go to one place and search any of the publications that NASA has created, both NASA proper and NASA civil servants, and PIs, grants from university and academia. We do have a website portal. It's we call it the one-stop shop. You can go and get links to open data as it is from our DACs, our data archive centers, or you can go and search all of our peer-reviewed publications that are in place. What we chose to do for the publication side is that we defined, and we did this collaboratively with 5 other federal agencies, the National Institute of Health, National Science Foundation, Department of Energy, and National Institute of Science and Technology. We all agreed what we would consider public data for publications, and that is, as you can see, not the working data. We don't want to be able to provide lab books, not derived data, but the publishable results that follow behind an article that is put into the journals. There is a way that you could request the other, but it would have to be, a unique situation to get the data below the publishable results. Now that's for the public side. For the publication side, we also have availability the raw data, and just as you can see, we have trying to decide how to archive these data to make it more accessible, and there are different ways. One of the things we have mandated, each peer-reviewed grant that's awarded, they have to have the principal investigator must have a data management plan and tell us where they're going to archive their raw data. It has to be approved by NASA. They can't any longer just keep it on their personal desktop. It has to be made available, and we discourage it actually at the university level website. We want it to be where it's sustainable, because as a federal agency under that policy that I mentioned, we are required to make sure it's maintained and accessible. So we need to make sure we know where that data are so that we can make sure we're managing it well. This, real quickly, is really our portal. This is called PubSpace. You can Google it, PubSpace, and up will pop NASA's PubSpace. It is part of the National Institute of Health platform. They have had their platform in place for about 12 years, so instead of reinventing the wheel, we decided to collaborate with them, and they've given us our own web page. And as you can see, we've got training videos for principal investigators on how to submit your documents, what's required. We have areas in each one of them. This is static because I knew I didn't have much time, so because you can really play with this, but if you go to it, you can see public access to results, and each one of our focus areas, whether it's aeronautics, space technology, human exploration, science, all of that, you can go and click on that and it'll tell you what the requirements are, how you can get to their data, and so forth. So it's one of those areas where we think that it's really beneficial for everybody, and this is open to the world. It's not just reserved for the U.S. One other thing I wanted to mention is not only when we're talking about how we're going to do this in a an open way. From the federal side, from the United Nations side is one thing, but there are a lot of folks out there in the private sector that are very interested in making their data available to the public. If you recall, you may have recalled that moonshot that President Obama had coined for Vice President Biden in the last term to work with the medical fields to make sure that those data, it's so important to the researchers to keep their data forever, to be able to publish as much as possible. But it is understood, especially in the medical field, that that is restrictive as far as breakthrough technology or capability. So as you can see, Bill and Melinda Gates in January required, they actually donate $4 billion plus US dollars to research. And they have made the same requirement for any data that are derived from their donations, that it has to be freely available. So it's not just, I think that the opportunity to make data available, it will be a collaborative effort, both private sector and public sector. But I just wanted to point that out. And just a couple of lessons learned, and one at the end that probably the most important one to me I didn't even put on here. For us, coordinating 20 federal agencies to agree to a pretty much a singular way to approach it was a little bit of a challenge. So you can kind of scale that up and decide when you're doing this globally how much of a challenge that might be. It's difficult to create the databases. It takes some time and labor, and obviously it's expensive. So one of the things I want to comment, is that there's a budgetary issue to this, and we want to make sure that the data that we're making available, we're not duplicating something else. We need to leverage everything that's going on across the world, and I know ESA has a tremendous capability in data availability. So how we approach it is a strategic option of how to approach pulling it together. For instance, just in NASA, we're pulling the links to the data archives. We're not archiving it a second time. So in that PubSpace area website, you can link onto or click onto a link that will take you to a website, but we're not duplicating that data anywhere. It requires commitment and for the parties to comply and provide notice of new data sets. That's another thing. It's a maintenance type of thing that's very timely and challenging. And after 4 years, we're still working through some of those challenges just in our own agency. One final bullet that I want to put on here is to the raw data, we make that available, but it is absolutely useless without the interfacing software to be able to use it and be able to interpret what that data are. So that's where we're struggling right now with the agency, is where do we draw the line on the requirements for the software, because in some areas the certain sets of software are used to interface the raw data, in other areas other software, and we're trying to figure out from a federal agency where our responsibility lies for that. You can have the data, but there's the usefulness is where that interface with that software lies. And just at the end, the value of NASA is to make their peer-reviewed publications into a single repository. Actually, it's kind of, I'll be honest, it's very embarrassing for our agency. We have spent billions of dollars in federal grants, and we do not know how many peer-reviewed publications we have that are generated from that research dollars. This will actually put it in a place where we can actually understand how much we're producing and be able actually for our stakeholders to let them know what we're using. This is public money, and we want to let them know how valuable their money is and where it's going for use. And again, the requirement is after 12 months, we've made an embargo with the peer-reviewed journals. Because they will go into journals that after 12 months that is free. They can charge it if they want to, but anyone can go to this website and get it for free, any article. So that's the advantage of that. And we really are looking forward to share this in any way that we can and collaborate. And with that, I think I will end it.
Thank you very much.